Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Organic Certification 101 for market managers. We're just going to wait a few more minutes for more folks to join as people keep trickling in onto the webinar. Okay, I think we'll get started. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us for a few moments, letting a few more people join us. My name is Amelia Moore, and I'm the program coordinator for the California Alliance of Farmers Markets. You are here on the Organic Certification 101 for Market Managers webinar. I just wanted to let you all know this webinar is being recorded, and we will provide a link to the recording in a follow-up email. And I also wanted to let you know that I will be taking questions and answers. We'll do a question and answer session at the end of our presentation. So if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them into the chat box, the question box, in your GoToWebinar control panel. And we'll probably hold them to the end just so we can keep the flow going. I want to invite you all to maximize your screen so that you get the full impact of this webinar and the full benefit. Also, just to let you know, we're going to be asking you some questions during the webinar, just so we'd love to have you interact with us. So be ready for that. So just to say, as market managers, you wear many hats, and one of those hats is supporting the independent farmers and small farm businesses that are in your markets. And this webinar is really intended to provide an additional tool in your toolbox to support your farmers with information about becoming certified organic and how to stay in compliance at farmers markets. So we hope that you find it informative today. Just a note that this webinar is funded through a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and that the contents of the webinar do not necessarily represent the official views of the USDA. So first, I'd like to introduce you to the California Alliance of Farmers Markets, if you're not familiar with us. The Alliance is a member-based industry group representing over 180 certified farmers markets, farmers, and vendors. We focus on encouraging networking and sharing best practices across the industry. We also host webinars like this and an annual in-person training. Additionally, we represent the industry in policy discussions, both at the state level and federal. We currently have a Farmers Market Promotion Program grant from the USDA to do promotions and marketing of certified farmers markets. So we're producing videos that we're putting out on social media. Those you can see at our website, farmersmarketalliance.org, and on our social media pages. So that's the Alliance. I also want to introduce you to our partner host, the CCOF Foundation. We're partnering with CCOF to provide market managers with training and information on organic certification as another tool to strengthen your ability to support small and local farmers. The CCOF Foundation advances organic agriculture for a healthy world through education, hardship grants, and technical assistance and consumer education. And so we have on the lines both Megan Donovan from the CCOF Foundation and Val Davis, who's from the CCOF Certification Services. They'll be able to help answer any questions at the end of the webinar as well. And finally, I'm really excited to introduce you to our presenter today, Jamie Collins of Serendipity Organic Farms. Jamie started Serendipity Organic Farms in 2001. She grows a large variety of crops in the Central Coast area, and she sells at 9 weekly farmers markets. I just want to say Jamie has a beautiful website, which you can see listed at the bottom of that screen. So I encourage you to check it out and read more about her story. Jamie's passionate about organic farming as well as supporting other farmers to transition to organic. And Jamie's, as well as being an organic farmer herself, she's actually a CCOF organic inspector and is working with CCOF and the Alliance on this project to deliver trainings like this one on organic certification and how to support organic farmers. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jamie.
Hello, everyone. Before we get started, I'd like to know a little more about your interests. We're going to launch a poll with a quick question. Please take a minute to complete the poll when it pops up on your screen. What are you most interested in learning about today? A, the definition of organic. B, organic compliance at farmers markets. C, how farmers can get certified. D, all of the above. Or E, other, you don't know right now. So we'll just take a minute to let you guys complete the poll.
Okay, I think we've had a majority of people, so I'm going to close the poll now and we'll share the results back out. So hopefully everyone can see these on your screen. What we have, the results are 58% said all of the above, which is great. And then 25% said organic compliance at farmers markets. So those were our two big hitters. So definitely you're in the right place. You'll get all that information. Back to you, Jamie.
Okay. Just to note before we proceed today that the webinar will be covering some farmers market guidelines that speak specifically to California farmers market practices. If you're joining us from outside California, check in with your state Department of Agriculture regarding your state's farmers market regulations. What is certified organic? Well, the word organic is a federally regulated labeling term. Unlike terms such as natural, certified organic products are federally regulated through an extensive certification process by a third-party certifier and undergo an annual inspection to ensure they meet the USDA's National Organic Program requirements. So I want to talk a little bit about what organic farmers do differently than non-organic farmers. They support healthy ecosystems by caring for the soil, the water, plants, and animals naturally. They only use input materials that are approved for organic use. They create and maintain biodiversity for pollinators and attract beneficial insects and birds. And there are several things that they don't do as compared to non-organic farmers as well. They don't use any genetically modified seeds or seeds treated with fungicides or coated with chemicals. They don't use synthetic pesticides or fertilizers derived from petroleum or use any kind of sewage sludge. They don't use any antibiotics, growth hormones, steroids, or irradiate crops. Now we're going to talk a little bit about organic certification. Organic logos and marketing claims allow the producers to clearly communicate to the consumer about their product. In accordance with the USDA regulations, certified organic operations can use the word organic in their marketing claims. They can also use the USDA organic logo or a certifier's organic logo on their products, or both if they want. Here's an example of the CCOF certifier logo, but CCOF is just one of 50 different organic certifiers based in the United States, and each one has their own specific logo. Next, we'll go over the history and structure of the organic program. And this is just to show you the very first CCOF logo created in 1973. Here's some pictures of the first organic farmers and certifiers. Farmers started certifying other farmers in 1973. And before 1973, farmers were using the term organic, but it had different definitions. California farmers organized to create a level playing field and develop rules for organic agriculture. And CCOF was one of the first certifying organizations in the country. Organic farmers wanted a streamlined regulation. So California regulations, here's a little history. The California Organic Food Act, COFA, of 1979 was signed into law, legally defining organic practices in California, but making no provisions for support or enforcement. Any infractions had to be taken up in the courts by organizations like CCOF. After a 20-month marathon advocacy effort by CCOF, California passed the California Organic Foods Act, COFA, of 1990. Based on CCOF's organic certification standards, COFA added enforcement to the existing state law. Third-party certification was still voluntary under this new law. Then the federal regulations. So in 1990, the Organic Foods Production Act was completed as part of the U.S. Farm Bill, and it called for the establishment of the USDA National Organic Program and National Organic Standards Board, finally backing the certified organic claim with federal legislation. And then in 2002, the National Organic Program's final rule of organic standards was implemented nationally. And then in 2003, which isn't on the chart, but just for reference, the California Organic Products Act of 2003, or the COFA, revised the COFA to be applied in conjunction with the NOP standards and regulations. After the organic federal regulations came into effect, California's state organic program continued to serve as the enforcement authority for organic operations within the state of California. All organic operations in California must register with the state organic program, which is housed within California Department of Food and Agriculture, or CDFA. The state organic program handles the complaints, conducts spot inspections, conducts samples to test if there's unallowed pesticide residues on organic products, as well as other activities. The state organic program has the ability to enforce organic standards for all operations that are organic in California, regardless of which organic certifier certifies an operation. Other states do not have state organic programs. In other states, the USDA National Organic Program serves as the enforcement authority for organic operations. Organic certifiers verify that the operations they certify are complying with the USDA National Organic Program standards. There are over 50 organic certification organizations in the United States. When next, we will review what a farm needs to do to get certified on the next slide. So the first step to being certified organic is to complete an organic system plan that demonstrates in detail how the farmer plans to comply with the organic standards. At CCOF, the plan is a living document, and other certifiers may collect updates at annual inspections. It can vary by certifier. Any changes submitted will be reviewed for compliance, and once they're approved, they are added to the system plan. At CCOF, the OSP is submitted with a one-time application fee of $325, and as a reminder, all the fee structures will vary depending on your certifier. Next, an inspector is sent out to the farm to verify compliance and that the plan accurately and visually represents what is occurring on the farm. Several types of documents are reviewed, such as seed and plant receipts, fertilizers and pest control. Inspectors confirm that all the products applied are approved for organic production and review the records showing the search for organic seed, soil tests, clean out records for shared equipment with non-organic, audit trails, and sales records. And the farms pay for those inspection fees. And as an example, the inspection fees at CCOF for smaller operations are typically under $550. The inspector then sends the inspection report to the certifying agent for review. And at CCOF, the operations must pay an annual certification fee before their inspection report gets reviewed. An operation's annual certification fee is based on their gross organic production value of their CCOF certified products. And again, other certifiers may have a different structure with their fees. Next, the inspection report is reviewed and approved, or added conditions or more clarification are required to comply with the regulations before the operation can move to certified status. And at CCOF, this process takes about 90 days unless the grower chooses expedited status, and that is an additional fee and is usually a 30-day process. Once the inspection report is approved, CCOF contacts the operation by email or by mail to let the operation know they're certified, as well as send them a copy of their USDA Organic Program certificate. Additional information may be sent at this time as well to assist the operation in maintaining their certification. Other certifiers, again, may handle things differently and may report, may review, their reviewing process may be a little different, but it's all under the same USDA regulations. Once an operation is certified, the operation is inspected at least once a year to continue their organic certification. And as part of their certification renewal, CCOF operations pay the inspection and annual certification fees as described before. So there's a cost share program that reimburses farms up to 75% of their certification costs. A complete application along with receipts for certification bills are required. And the deadline for application in California is October 31st. And the payment is typically received in January or February of the next year. And we'll have a webinar in August on this to provide market managers with information they need to inform their farmers. Next, we're going to talk about what farms are exempt from certification. So small operations that sell less than $5,000 annually in gross sales are exempt from becoming certified by a third-party certifier. However, exempt operations still need to register with CDFA as an organic producer. Some examples of under $5,000 in sales are backyard-grown herb teas, eggs, jams, or a small-scale nursery. Typically, this is a starting point for new producers to see if they can sell their products and make a profit before committing to certification or even the business in general. For example, I have a friend that started growing medicinal herbs in a small greenhouse in her backyard with the goal of building clients and selling other products she makes with the herbs like salves, while she continues to look for a larger piece of land to have a permaculture farm. Now we're going to switch to compliance at the farmers markets. Both CDFA and certifiers conduct unannounced inspections at the farm fields and at the farmers market. Some are randomly chosen, and some are chosen because there is a need to investigate potential non-compliant activities. Market inspections verify proper signage is being used, that the crop being sold organically is certified. Samples may also be taken at the farmers market to test for pesticide residues. Okay, we're going to do another poll. What do you think is the most common handling error you've seen at your market? A, unclear labeling of organic products. B, intermingling of organic and non-organic. C, expired or no organic certification proof. Or D, suspicious looking produce, perfect produce. For example, uniform long carrots or celery that looks like it may have come from a wholesale distributor. I'll give you guys a few minutes to complete the poll.
I think I switched up that language a little bit at the end to shorten it because the system wouldn't allow for a long option. So it's just non-organic produce being sold as organic.
Okay.
For that final D, yeah. So we have about 75 folks have voted, getting up there to 94. I wonder if we can get 100%. That would be special. Okay, not looking like it, so I'm going to close the poll. Let's have a look at the results. So 40%, which is our biggest majority that we have, say unclear labeling of organic products seems to be one of the most common things they're seeing. Intermingling got 27%, expired or no certificate, no registration, 20%. A little less seeing examples of non-organic produce being sold as organic. So mostly it's the unclear labeling and then the intermingling. Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing that.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to talk about market displays. Market displays that sell both non-organic and organic need to clearly prevent commingling of organic and non-organic products. So there needs to be a clear separation and signage for organic and non-organic. You can look at the pictures and see the compliant versus the non-compliant. There needs to be a clear separation and signage for organic and non-organic, but helpful but not required is the designation of 2 different colored boxes for example, organic strawberries. Yellow boxes could be used for organic and white for non-organic. This also helps customers build trust with the farm when they see 2 different colored boxes, and it leaves no room for accidentally mixing up which are organic and which are not organic. Appropriate organic claims. So the word organic is a federally regulated term. Only farms and food processors that are certified organic or small enough to be exempt from organic certification can legally use this term. Language such as better than organic, have applied for organic certification, almost organic, etc. is misleading and must not be used. No spray or pesticide-free signage may be prohibited depending on the market rules. What can non-certified farms verbally claim at the market? Well, verbal organic claims technically are not allowed, but they're very hard to monitor. And the standards don't specifically talk about verbal language, but they do say that in order to be sold, labeled, or represented as organic, you need to be certified or exempt. So I'd say that making a verbal claim is representing the product as organic. So if the seller at the farmer's market said to customers, our product is organic, but we just aren't certified, that wouldn't be allowed. But yes, it would be hard to monitor unless someone took a video. If you do hear your farmers say these things, you can have a conversation with the farmer about how they are representing their product. And also, the farm claims extend to their farm name. So if the word organic is used in the name and they're not certified or they're not exempt, then that's incorrect as well. Proof of organic or proof of certification and registration. A current and valid organic certificate and CDFA organic registration must be visible in the organic producer's booth. In order to make organic claims on labels of multi-ingredient products like salsa, the producer needs to be certified as an organic processor. At CCOF, this would mean that the operation would need both a grower certification and a handler, i.e. processor certification. The organic process is thorough and complex for a processor. Handler. There has been recent changes in regulations around processed food production. All operations are required to obtain a processed food registration, which can cost between $500 and $800 annually. And if the farmer wants to be able to label their multi-ingredient products as organic, they will also need the processed food registration as well as the organic certification as a handler. But they can opt out and not have the organic certification for their processed products, but they still do need the processed food registration. They cannot make organic claims on their processed products if they're not certified organic. And I just want to tell you a little story that that happened to me. Recently, I conducted both an unannounced field and a farmer's market inspection of a berry grower that was selling raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries as organic. They had 2 certified producer certificates, and each one was certified by 2 different organic certification bodies. But it turned out that the blueberries were not on any of the organic certificates. So about 2 weeks after this inspection, a man came to my blueberry farm, and he attempted to buy 50 to 80 cases of blueberries from my workers. I spoke with him over the phone and asked questions like, where are you planning to sell these? That's a lot of berries. And he said he was planning to sell them to bakeries. Since I knew that bakeries wouldn't pay a high price for the hand-picked berries, I asked for his name, and he told me. When I recognized the name as the farm I had inspected a couple weeks ago, I then asked, are you from this farm and sell at the farmer's market? And he said, yes. I asked, are you planning to resell these at your stand? He said, everyone does it. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? I said, no, not everyone does it, and it is not allowed. Little did he know that he approached me, the organic inspector that had just done his unannounced inspections. If a farmer is suspected of reselling products that are not their own, the best thing to do is to contact CDFA. For this situation, I sent an email with the facts of what had occurred to the certifier, which in turn sent them to CDFA and filed a complaint. So you can find a list of accredited organic certifiers, USDA organic program information, the USDA cost share program, and CDFA organic registration at these websites. And don't feel like you need to write them down. They're going to be links will be sent in a follow-up email after the webinar. And there will be upcoming trainings for market managers on the Organic Cost Share program on Tuesday, August 27th at 9 a.m. And additional webinars will be provided over the next 2 years under this Farmers Market Promotion Program. And the webinar registration for the future trainings will be emailed to everyone who RSVP'd for this webinar. And there's also going to be trainings for farmers at the Organic Grower Summit at the Monterey Conference Center on December 4th and 5th. And all this information is also available at the farmersmarketalliance.org, farmersmarketalliance.org. Okay, I guess we're going to open it up to questions.
Great. Thank you, Jamie, for running through that. So the way this is going to work is going to be, if you have questions, please type it into the chat box. Any question is going to be great. No questions are stupid or silly questions. They're all useful. So I'll just go to a couple that came in. Is there a single reference that defines organic in full? That's the first question.
A single reference, meaning the regulation, or?
I imagine it's, yeah, how do you define organic in full? I guess it would be in the regulation. And how
maybe Val knows the actual number. Yeah, there's the different, the numbers of the NOP. Well, you can look at the NOP.
National Organic Program website.
Yeah, this is Val. I would definitely recommend going to the USDA organic website. They'll have a reference there. You can find the Code of Federal Regulations online, and you can actually see the sections that are applicable to organic that define what organic is in full.
Thank you. Great. So the next question is there a non-GMO definition that insists that the product is organic also?
Well, feel free to jump in, Val, but if the product is certified organic, it can't have any genetically modified seeds. You can't have used any genetically modified seeds.
Yeah, I'll just add that all genetically modified organisms are not allowed in organic. So there are different steps in the organic certification process that are going to ask questions that'll verify that checkpoint.
I wonder if this question is also getting at if there is a non-GMO product, does it have to be that it is organic? It doesn't have to be. It doesn't insist that the product is organic, as well as, like, in organics, you can't have GMOs, but if you had a product that was non-GMO, could it be organic? Could it be non-organic? Like, I think that's the...
I believe there's non-GMO labeling that's on, like, prepared products, you know, like chips and things like that, corn chips that maybe necessarily aren't certified organic, but they're used, say, non-genetically modified corn seed for that product. Is that maybe what they were getting at? Like a label for non-GMO, but not possibly also organic.
Right, I think so.
Yeah, I'll just add too that, and to reiterate what Jamie's already said, organic is the only federally regulated term. So there are possibly third-party certifications or verifications that speak to the non-GMO status, but it's not a federally regulated term. So it doesn't have the same level of integrity and consistency and enforcement that organic will have. And organic is non-GMO. So if someone wants to buy something with confidence that it's GMO-free, they should look for that organic label.
Thanks. I hope that answers the question. And next question, this question came in early on, and we may have answered some of it, which was, what must small farmers currently pay to be certified organic? Jamie.
Right. Well, it depends on the size of the farm and how long it takes to do the inspection. But yeah, the initial application fee was $325, And then typically, you know, the inspector is paid by the hour, and so there's the hourly fee depending on how complicated the operation is. If it's a farm and it also has handling, you know, it could be higher than $550, but we were saying that $550 would be a good estimate for a smaller farm, you know, along with the $325 application fee. But again, if they were to file for getting the reimbursement, then they would get 75% of that back, you know, at the end of the year, beginning of the next.
And just to check as well, once you have your inspection and your report is being reviewed by a certifier such as CCOF, you then pay an annual fee. And how much is the annual fee?
The annual fee is based on gross organic sales, and it also takes into consideration, you can minus out any organic seed out of that gross sales, but there's actually a fee structure on the CCOF website, but that's just for CCOF, and again, different certifiers do things differently, but there is, if you look on our website, then you will be able to see the fee structure for different operations. And the very first inspection is an estimate of what you think you're going to make, and then it's adjusted on the second year, either down or up, depending on, or maybe you were just right there, but it'll be adjusted depending on the actual numbers.
Thanks, Jamie. And that all those fees, including the annual fee, is considered eligible under the organic certification cost share program as well.
Yes, yes, it is.
Great. Okay. Is having proof of certificate at the farmers market booth a California regulation or a national organic program regulation?
Hi, this is Megan. I just wanted to clarify, is that, because in California you have to have both the CDFA registration and the organic certificate, so was it clear in the question as to what they were asking for?
Yeah, I do think that it's basically a California farmers market regulation, that the having the registration, the state registration, and the certificate, organic certificate at the farmers market booth is a California regulation. But in other states, do they also need to have their organic certification visible?
I don't know the answer to that outside of California. I would assume so, but I don't know the answer outside of California. I don't know if Val or Megan have an idea.
No, I'm not sure about that either.
That would
be something that you'd want to check in with your State Department of Agriculture about.
Yeah. But definitely in California, you need your organic certification and your organic registration, which is you registering with the state program. Great, another question. Okay. I have a vendor who sells African black soap and body lotion. She claims her ingredients are organic, thus she markets her products as organic. Would she need an organic processor certification?
It's soap?
Soap and body lotion.
I believe she'd have to prove that some of the ingredients, depending if she's saying it's certified organic soap or it's made with organic ingredients, that she would need to show some sort of proof that she was using that if she wants to make that claim. Don't you think, Val and Megan?
Yeah, offhand, I'm not familiar enough with that scope to give a definitive answer. I'd defer someone to the NOP website or even use the FAQs of a certifier website. They could probably find the answer because I'm sure that gets asked a lot. I just don't know the question offhand about body products specifically.
Yeah. I wonder as well if they are farming the products themselves, like a vendor that is farming the plants and herbs that maybe they put into the body products. But okay, so that might need some further research. So we'll try and let me
I'll,
just see. There's a follow-up.
I can actually
And
chime in
essential
now.
oils, yeah.
I did check, I did a quick check on our website, and there aren't any federal regulations for organic cosmetics at this point, but if they want to claim that the product is certified organic, it has to meet the same requirements as organic food. So they'll have to meet all those same requirements.
And that's the requirements that we showed at the beginning in terms of not using GMOs,
Right.
etc.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We got a thank you to that. Second, another question, why is it misleading to label products as pesticide-free?
Well, I mean, because there's no proof, they can't really prove that in any way, so there's nobody overseeing that. But again, that's a verbal that may or may not be okay with depending on your market association, is what we were speaking on earlier about that.
Great.
I mean, I guess I'd be interested to know how farmers market associations deal with that. Are they okay with that? Or, that's a question I would like to know from the farmers market associations, honestly.
Yeah, maybe folks, if you have thoughts on that, you can put it into the chat box, the question box. So someone just said organic certifiers have different fee schedules, and I think that may have been a question, or it may have been a point of clarification, just to repeat something you said during the presentation, Jamie, that what the fees that we talked about when we talked about how much it might cost to be certified organic, that was based on CCOF fees.
Right. Yeah, different certifiers have different types of payment schedules, but they all typically you have to pay for the actual inspection, but the annual fee may be different, may not be based on your gross sales, it may be based on something else, maybe number of fields, or I'm not sure, but typically the inspection time is always, counted as a cost.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jamie.
I don't know if anybody has anything else to say to that.
Okay. So I've got another question. Is there a time limit in years for a farmer to maintain only organic registration, not certified, or can they maintain be registered organic indefinitely? I wonder if you guys know that.
Well, maybe they're talking about if they make 5,000 gross sales or less a year. I mean, I would assume as long as they can prove that they're not making more than that they can just be registered with CDFA versus being certified.
Right.
Yeah,
so
there's no time limit on that.
Great. Just looking down our list of questions. Someone actually was just adding to our conversation about the pesticide-free language, mentioning that it can be misleading because there are organic pesticides from plants and oils. And so they were making that point in terms of why that could be misleading language. Okay, so we have another question that is there a difference between organic certification and organic registration? And I think this is where, specifically for California, it comes into play. So I wonder, Jamie, if you want to discuss the difference between those two.
Well, the organic certification actually is the body that comes out and does the audit and the organic inspection and verifies all the records. At this point, CDFA basically does the the field inspections if there's a complaint, or sort of follows up on any kind of issues. So there's a difference in that way. I know they do a lot more market inspections in California because of the CDFA than in other states. But the certifying body is the one that actually verifies the organic compliance. The CDFA is basically a certificate that that you fill out. You let them know where your farmland is, and you tell them how much your what crops you're growing, and you receive the certificate.
I can add a little bit too to that, because there might be some confusion, because in some states there are state programs that have certification bodies within them, like WSDA, for example, does certification, so they are a certifier, whereas CDFA is not a certifier, they're actually the certification authority in California. So there are certifiers that work within the state, but CDFA doesn't itself grant certification. So I can see how there might be a little confusion out there, because there are some state agencies in other states that do certification as well.
And
right, and the various counties too have their own certifying bodies. So like Monterey County has their own at the Ag Commissioner's office, Monterey County, for example. Maybe that's some confusion as well, although that's not CDFA.
And I think just going back to what Jamie kind of covered during the presentation, California was really in the forefront of getting organic defined like through a state agency, through legislation. And so because of that, in California, farms were registering starting in the early 90s, and in California we were able to regulate and make sure that people who are making organic claims were doing what they said they were. And then when the national regulations came in the early 2000s, the two programs kind of restructured themselves so they could work together. So in a way that double registration, or needing both your certificate registration with CDFA and your organic certification, is sort of this history of California being at the forefront and of strong organic compliance.
Thanks. So we have another question about those exempt. So I wondered, Jamie, if you want to go back to the slide that shows the exemption for farmers with less than 5K, and just touch on that again, because that is the question is, like, if they earn less than 5K a year, can they register being organic at no cost? What is involved? Just an inspection. So I'm wondering if that is a question about registration with the state organic program, or whether it is about certification. So maybe touching on both points.
Okay. Well, with the exemption, they need to prove to CDFA that they are making under that amount by either showing their taxes or some sort of documentation on that. And like we discussed, that could go on indefinitely if that's where they stay and don't go over 5,000. But can you tell me part of the question again? I'm sorry, I was looking for the slide.
Well, no problem. Just on that point, registering with the state, is there a cost for that, or is it just free to register with the state?
Oh, great. There is a cost. I'm not sure what it is for under 5,000. Maybe there's not one for that, but there is a cost depending on also your gross sales as well.
Okay. And then if you're a small operation and you're exempt from the certification process, you can still use the language organic, but not certified organic. So you can't use like the CCOF logo because you aren't certified, but you can sell your product as organic.
Yes, correct.
Great. And we're not sure on the cost of the state organic program fee?
For example, I know if a farm makes 50,000, I believe that it's $75. So that's just one example. So if a farm grosses 50,000 a year, they pay $75 a year to the CDFA, but they also have their own sort of fee structure that I'm not, I don't know all the ins and outs of, but that's just one example.
Great. Thanks. Great. So I have another question here. I'm still not clear on registration versus inspection. Asking for small farmers so that they can document how much or little they make, but what do they actually do? Call the Department of Ag or what? So I think this is a question of like, if it's a small farmer that wants to say that they're organic, like what is their step? Like, it sounds like they go to the USDA website or the CDFA website and
CDFA.
register.
Yes.
I hope that answers the question for Christopher. If you have any other specific questions, whereas the inspection would be to become certified, and if you're earning less than 5,000, you don't need to become certified. Oh, someone sent me the actual link, I think, so that's great. Thank you. People helping me out. I'll send that to everyone in case you're interested, a link to the CDFA organic registration page. Any other questions from folks? Let's see. Just a couple of questions. In general, how does the organic apply to animals and livestock?
Well, I mean, for animals, like we talked about, there's no antibiotics or steroids that can be used. But Val can probably talk further about animals.
Yeah, there are a whole set of the regulations that are applicable to the organic livestock. Some of the primary things being they have to have 100% organic feed. Healthcare materials are restricted, like Jamie said, that you can't use antibiotics, no growth hormones. There are some welfare pieces of it as well that are incorporated that we verify. There's a lot of focus on living conditions for the animals and the regulations. There's a pasture standard for ruminants. So if cows, for example, have a specific requirement of how much pasture they need to be eating. So there's a lot of verification checkpoints in the regulations that are specific to livestock. So if you see a livestock product labeled certified organic, the animals producing those products have met those regulations.
Okay, thank you. We got another question. Would a backyard growers co-op still have to make less than 5K to be exempt? For example, one backyard makes 2,500 and another makes 3, and yet another makes 500 to 1,000. So that it's a cooperative of growers, but they each individually make less. So could the co-op itself be eligible to be exempt? Or would each farmer have to be, like if they're selling as a co-op, would they then have to go through a process to get certified?
That's a really good question. I would think they'd have to individually register to be under that 5,000 amount, but that's a good question. I'm not sure how they deal with co-ops with CDFA. Does anybody else know?
Yeah, I think that might be something that would be good to follow up with CDFA on.
Great. Thank you. Let's see. Not getting too many other questions through. Just encouraging people to think about, if you're going to talk to some of your farmers about organic certification, I wonder if any Jamie or Megan or Val, if you ever kind of have to do a pitch to people about the benefits of organic or transitioning, if there's anything you think our farmers market managers might benefit from hearing in terms of how to have that conversation with your farmers.
Well, I mean, I think for sure just the customers don't, you know, if they see the sign, then they know for sure, and then they build trust with you. And also, you know, you can have more of a premium for your produce. So that's a benefit.
We got a question on that point actually, Jamie, which is if there was any data available on whether or not organic farmers at farmers markets are getting a premium. So I wonder if CCOF Foundation or CCOF Certification Services has any information like that.
That's a good question. We've heard quite a lot of anecdotal stories where people were able to kind of keep their family farms because they switched to organic. But specifically in farmers markets, that would be something we would need to look up. We do have a lot of data off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't have any data to pull out of the air.
Yeah.
Well, you can for sure explain, you know, why the costs would be higher, you know, that the weeding cost, you're not spraying any kind of, you know, glyphosate or Roundup or anything. You're hand weeding or you're using the tractor, using hose. I mean, there's, you know, ways to explain the cost increase too to your customers, because you can explain how you produce your food is a lot different than in non-organic. So.
Just going back to the data piece as well, collecting as farmers market managers, collecting our own data about our farmers would also be interesting. There are some places in Southern California that track vendor sales. And if we had that kind of data on a statewide system, we would be able to aggregate that and kind of start to see in California if there is any data on price points for organic farmers versus conventional farmers. So just encouraging people to think about the data that you have access to as market managers and how you collect that and how we use it. Great. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions pop up right now. So just want to say, you know, thank you for your interest in helping local farmers, and huge thank you to Jamie and to Megan and Val at CCOF for pulling all of this together. If you have more questions about this presentation or about organic certification, Jamie has offered to answer those questions. We showed you a slide a few back that had a list of links. I'll be sending that out in an email to you, as well as a recording of this webinar. So thank you so much. Also want to say that we have a feedback survey that will pop up after this webinar closes, and it will be sent back to you in an email afterwards. We'd really appreciate it if you can take a moment to fill out that feedback survey. So thank you for that too in advance. And with that, I say goodbye.
Thank you for joining. Bye.
Thank you very much.